Cheng from the University of Washington. This is Kristine Matthews, who's also my colleague. We're both faculty members in the Division of Design. And this is Zhou, entrepreneur from EvoEco. So we're here to talk to you about garbage, everybody's favorite subject. So I mentioned we're from the University of Washington, which is not too far from here. And the university has made a substantial investment in garbage infrastructure. Everywhere you go on campus, there are 3 bins: recycle, landfill, and compost. So, even at the little school cafes, everywhere you go, there's these 3 bins. But when you look in the bins, I know unlike most of you, you probably don't look in the bins, but I look in the bins every day. And so this is the landfill bin, and you can see people are doing it wrong. They're not taking advantage of the infrastructure. So, because this is the landfill bin, and you can see clearly this banana peel could have been composted. We actually have compostable cups there, and then there's some other things that could have been recycled. The napkin could go in compost, right? So we started working with these garbologists. This is a group at the University of Washington, and this here is our head garbologist, Jack Johnson. And so the garbologists are interested in garbage because they're a branch of anthropology, and so they do these garbage sorts where they look to see, well, how are people doing in terms of sorting their garbage? So when you look at the landfill, actually, at UW, 60% of what's in landfill is actually compostable. So only 25% of it actually belongs in landfill. So looking at that in a pie chart then, so it's like only 25% of what's in the landfill bin actually has to be there. The rest could be composted or recycled. So recycling is also what they call contaminated, because if you look in the recycle bin, only 1/3 of it is actually recycle. Again, a lot of it could be composted. And I know you'd be shocked about it, but many of you are doing it wrong. I looked in the bins at lunch too. Many of you are doing it wrong. Okay, all right, and that's because I think it is confusing, right? Like if you look here, a lot of people don't understand that there's these new plastics that are actually made from plants. They're corn-based or grass-based plastics. And also they're compostable cups. Here, actually, there were not compostable cups. But people don't realize that these things actually go in compost instead of recycle. And it's exacerbated because many people eat meals away from home now, right? And so even though the packaging that you get is largely recyclable, people usually don't do the right thing. This is a terrible little ad, but it may help you to remember, if I'm not clean, I can't go green. In other words, when you have a recyclable package, you actually it has to be clean and dry. That's because in most places like California and Washington, that you have single stream recycling. So everything, the aluminum cans, the plastic, and the paper all go in the same bin. So when oil from the food or food waste gets on the paper, it can't be recycled because it doesn't get hot enough to just burn that off, and it contaminates the whole load. So when you put your full coffee cup into a recycle bin, you may be spoiling that entire load worth of paper. So what you do see on a bright note is that people who use the compost know what they're doing, okay? Because the people who take the trouble to compost, you can see the compost bin is 90% correct. It only has a little bit of landfill and a little bit of recycle. Because frankly, it's a pain to compost. Nobody wants to scrape their plate full of food waste into a bin. It would be nicer just to get rid of it. Okay? But it is a problem because when you have organics in landfill, there are several negative effects. Like when our organics are in landfill, they give off methane, which is a powerful greenhouse gas. It's actually more potent than carbon dioxide, right? And just to review the basic science of it, greenhouse gases act as a blanket, so they warm the earth, they trap the heat that would normally escape, right? And you're probably familiar with methane if you have a natural gas stove. And actually landfills are the 3rd largest cause of methane emissions. Okay. Composting isn't, of course, the only thing that we can do. It would be better to reduce food waste. Like, for example, all the food here that wasn't eaten, that would be nice if we could give it to food banks, for example. Okay. And if you can't feed people with it, you could feed animals like pigs or cattle, for example. And then you might be able to use it industrially. So composting and incinerating it is actually at the end. Okay. And it's sort of similar with recycling because recycling saves energy. The amount of energy that you use to make a new aluminum can, you have to mine the aluminum, you have to form it into metal ingots, it has to be formed into cans. That all takes a lot more energy, more than twice as much energy as if you would just recycle cans. Okay. A different issue, especially with plastic, is, the widespread pollution that happens with things that you use for less than a minute, that single-use plastic fork. And so there are areas all over the world where there are these plastic gyres in oceans, so it's more than just a cosmetic problem. You can see wildlife is affected by, plastic all over the world, okay, and they find actually microplastics in fish. And then you also see here that there are birds that eat plastic, so you find bags, bottle caps, fibers from clothing, all up and down the food chain. Okay. And so you also see that eventually there have been some campaigns that show that eventually we will eat plastic too. Because, if you eat fish and they eat plastic, or you eat birds and they eat fish, all that plastic will be in you. So, part of the reason that it's a problem is we're just not doing that great a job at recycling. So if you look at this sort of close-up here, you can see that the US recycles basically 35%, about a third of all their waste. I also highlighted Canada because people always think Canada is so great, but actually we're slightly better than Canada. I mean, anyway. Okay, so our design challenge is, what shall we do about this problem?
So Karen and I are professors of design, like we said, and we're really frustrated by this waste issue, but we're also really aware that, this recycling in hell, like it's this constant problem that we're always confronted with, and we're talking about how we could solve this maybe through design, because the solutions that are out there now, they're ugly pieces of design, and they're also not very functional. So everyone's been confronted with these complex charts, when you approach a bin, which they're trying to give you this very specific visual information, but it's tiny most of the time, and it's just not very, it's neither attractive nor functional. And so we were trying to tackle this problem on the University of Washington campus as a sort of prototype. So nobody's gonna lean across these openings to figure out exactly what they've got in their hand. As you know, even from today, you just wanna make a split-second decision and do the right thing. Sometimes they're trying to do it with pictures. Sometimes it's with actual physical trash, which is even uglier and also sort of messy. So I was trying to match up, exact items with where you should put them, but as a visual solution, it's just not effective. And so the result is this, people, they just get frustrated, they don't know where to put extra trash, and so the situation just gets worse. And you see it everywhere you go. And so designers have tried to solve this problem in different ways, make trash kind of cute and fun, or make it into a game. But these aren't very practical solutions for an everyday environment. And so we wanted to see if we could tackle this in a different way, design-wise, and use maybe more contemporary technology as well. So I'll play this short video.
I think all large campuses have problems getting all their citizens to throw away waste properly. People are busy, students are busy, and when you have trash, you just want to get rid of it. One of the goals of this installation is to take that act, that thoughtless act of people throwing things away, and make it a little bit fun, a little bit playful, and even beautiful.
When people deal with issues around sustainability, it can be overwhelming and depressing, and it's something that's easy to sort of shut off. And so it was important that the animations were fun to watch and that the messaging had a lighthearted quality to it and a lively quality to it, and hopefully would pull somebody in just in passing.
The installation is working and the data are promising overall. There's about 8% less contamination in bins overall. That means that on average, people are doing a better job at identifying whether an item is compostable, recyclable, or it belongs in a landfill. What we also see more importantly is that within that subset of waste which is recycled or composted, there's about a 10% improvement in how much waste is correctly recycled or composted.
One of the best effects of the installation has been that people begin to realize that they don't know everything about recycling and composting. We hope that the installation helps to educate people about the really wide variety of materials that are out there now and how they should be properly disposed.
One thing we know as designers is there's the learning that happens with whoever is engaging with the installation or exhibit, but there's a much larger effect from watching. That's a powerful knock-on effect that you get in this kind of situation.
What Karen and her team did was visually stunning and very impactful. It's established that a more interactive, more visually compelling, more multimedia type display might be the direction people need to move towards.
So as you can see from the video, the solution we came up with, we call it smart bins. And so there's a small scale built into the bottom part of each of the bins that gives you that when the waste enters the bin, it gives you a prompt to explain how much you've thrown away and kind of congratulate you for your behavior. So there's a little bit of interactivity. So this prototype was very successful, and then this is where Will comes in to try and translate this model, which was very specific to UW campus with the products that you're seeing on the screen, and think about how this could become a system that could work in any kind of environment with any kind of mix of waste. I'll have Will explain that.
Thank you, Kristine. Hi, everyone. My name is Zhou. I am the CEO and co-founder of EvoEco. As you may see, which part of the puzzle does not fit? Two professors, I'm a college dropout, it's pretty funny. Anyways, so we've developed their initial system into actually a commercial product. It is now a self-enclosed smart bin system, actually available for purchase if anyone wants to take my number. So we've beefed up the software system significantly. We've added robust analytics, remote updating, and actually we've added machine vision. So we have these little cameras inside each one of these bins that can tell data and learn about who's throwing what away, when, where, and how. Over the course of the next few weeks, we're super excited to announce that we're launching at our first commercial sites here throughout the US. Actually, we're coming here to San Francisco in a couple buildings. Pinterest HQ, Starbucks, Columbia Property Trust, Amazon, among others. So if you have a chance, please go check it out. We'd love your feedback. At this point, we're actually really interested in having conversations with potential investors or other individuals who have a similar waste vision to us and want to help expand our project throughout more venues in the US. We're also really excited and interested in talking to you guys, interior designers, architects, about how can we create a system that'll fit, collaborate, and build it into your environments. We're super excited. We're based out of Seattle, but we operate everywhere throughout the US. You can see my contact information and some of the brands that we work with through the slide. And thank you. We are EvoEco and the University of Washington, introducing smart bins.